Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today Warlock received a handful of buffs on 11.2 PTR, and we can thank Ian for that. With that being the case, this video is going to be looking at those changes today, talking about the buffs to Diabolus, to Affliction, to Destro, to Soul Harvester, and all of that. There's a lot to go over. So we'll look at a little bit of things in combat here towards the end. Soul Harvester's tier set, the two piece is bugged right now. It is a new thing this build. Don't know what's going on with it. I think it might not have a spell power modifier on it. It's just bugged. We assume it's doing very, very little damage, so we can't really look at Soul Harvester here for Demonology or Affliction. But hey, it's okay. We have a lot of changes to go over regardless. These changes are live on PTR, and they help. Destro and Aff, I don't think are at the level of they're not at the level of Demonology at this point, but they're better than they were, and we're getting there. We're taking steps to have them be tuned around a level they should be for the current patch. So I digress, getting into it. So here are talents, Diabolus. Now, this is not just for Destruction and Demonology, one specifically, this is for both. So the Manaforge Omega 2 set bonus has been updated. Damage dealt by your demonic oculi increased by 100%. This change does not affect PvP. It's fine. So demonic oculi are these. So basically they're the eyes you summon whenever you smack a dummy or a mob or whatever. These things. Off my bird. These. Right there. There's one right there. I've got a weak aura for it there as well. There's one. You can have a max of 3, and whenever you basically empower a ritual by summoning in Fel Lord, Mother of Chaos, or Pit Lord, you fling the eyeballs and they give you an intellect buff. So if I keep doing this, I'll cast another thing here. Second eyeball will spawn now. We got a ritual queued up. I'm going to fling the eyeballs, and there's the actual int buff there. So you can see there's that. That was buffed by damage-wise by 100%. So the actual eyeballs you fling, when you fling them from consuming the ritual, they explode. That was buffed by 100%. They do a lot of damage now. Very cool. Wicked Cleave. So this was the damage by the Fel Lord from your Diabolus set, the one that comes in and does this big axe cleave, the Overlord, increased by 50%. Chaos Salvo, that's Big Mommy's green channel, buffed by 50%. Fel Seeker damage from the Pit Lord, buffed by 50%. Ruination also buffed by 50%. These pets have received a astronomical amount of buffs over the past couple patches, even like this PTR. Infernal Bolt also being buffed by 55%. I think Infernal Bolt was buffed by like 100 last build, like a few days ago. It's been buffed a crazy amount as well. So these are some pretty big buffs coming in for Diabolus, both for Demonology and Destruction. They also buff Flames of Zoroth that now increases demon and fire damage by 4%, was 2%, so that is nice there as well. So you've got Diabolus and Soul Harvester both being good as far as Demonology is concerned. Diabolus, I think Diabolus was a little bit better in single target for Destruction than Hellcaller. It's likely a decent bit better now. Also looking at these buffs, pretty good. When it comes to like single target. When it comes to AoE and M+ for Destruction, Diabolus has that weird issue of they never ended up like reverting the changes they made to ritual cycling for Destruction. Each soul shard spent for Diabolus for Demonology reduces your ritual by 1 second per shard spent. Destruction just whenever you spend shards. They made that change to break up the randomizer like issues in single target. We should probably revert that change at this point, honestly, but it is what it is. It might be okay in M+ with like just the raw pet damage coming in. Maybe Diabolus is a good bit better and can be like your lesser key, like 10, 12, 14 pug range hero talent for Destruction, and the higher you go, you want Hellcaller. I don't know, we'll see. Moving on, though, more buffs here. So we have Hellcaller buffs coming in for Affliction and Destruction. Wither periodic damage increased by 15% for Affliction. Blackened Soul by 30%, which is a pretty good bit. Zalen's Ferocity increases fire damage by 6%, was 2, so essentially a, 200% buff. Zalen's Cruelty also increases shadow damage by 6%, was 2, so essentially like an aura buff, in a sense, having Cruelty and Ferocity for Hellcaller, which sit, if I can change specs here, they sit like in the upper rows here. They're like the two tuning knobs you can sort of turn if you want like the buff of Hellcaller. They're sitting, Ferocity and Cruelty sitting right here. There's that bit of a buff for that for Affliction. To a similar extent, Destruction damage, Wither periodic damage. So tick rate increased, or sorry, tick damage increased by 10%. Black and Soul increased by 20. Black and Soul is a very large source of damage for destruction. Even before, it's even larger now. Zalen's Ferocity increased by 8%, and Cruelty as well, 8 up 4, so about 100% buff here compared to 200 for this, but still good buffs, more tuning knobs to turn here. This has shifted things towards Bleedheart likely being better for Hellcaller. Not really sure, but I've heard that a bit today, and I think Malakath is running sims with that recently, so there's that. We'll see where it goes. I mean, when sims are done, we'll look at it, by the way, but pretty cool to see. That's nice. There's that. But also, there is more Soul Harvester changes. I guess both Soul Harvester for Affliction and Demonology. The Mana Forge 2-set bonus has been updated for Affliction. Damage dealt by your rampaging demonic soul increased by 65%. Wicked Reaping damage increased by 75%. Demonic soul increased by 55%, and Soul Anathema damage increased by 40%. So this here is corresponding to the actual like tier set or whatever. Let me swap around here real fast. So like this is the only one that corresponds to the tier set. That makes sense. It says right here, like this is the tier set. These are just buffs to the actual Soul Harvester abilities themselves, right? So like the 2-piece damage dealt by your soul increased by 65%, which is right. Basically here, they apparently buff the damage of this thing. I don't know, I'm not really sure. Not 100%. But for Affliction, it could use some buffs, I guess, theoretically. It was about twice as good for Demonology than it was Affliction. Demonology had Mastery Bug, where it was double dipping, and it has Shadow Touch affecting it as well. Apparently, Shadow Touch was not affecting it. I thought it was. I don't know. But either way, Affliction buffs for this coming in to the 2-set. This is bugged, however. It is not doing... It's doing very, very little damage. We think they might have maybe removed the spell power modifier by mistake. I don't know, but hopefully it's fixed. It does like nothing really. It's like 1.8 to 2%. Like a breakdown, give or take, it's pretty subpar, both on single target and AoE. So hopefully a bug is fixed soon. We'll see where it goes. Wicked Reaping increased by 75, Demonic Soul 55, and Soul Anathema 40. So these don't correspond directly to the 4-piece here. It says Demonic Soul increased by 45, Reaping 45. These are the baseline abilities in the actual Soul Harvester tree themselves. Like Reaping is somewhere in here. It's here. It was this was buffed. Demonic Soul damage, like the soul or whatever in here was buffed, right? So that's the baseline Soul Harvester, like just damage, not just the tier set. This is what's in like the actual hero talent tree itself. So more buffs there. That's solid. It felt like Reaping was pretty low when it came to overall damage it dealt. That's cool to see. We'll look at it in a minute here in combat. Well, Soul Harvester's bug. We'll look at some things in combat in a minute. And go from there. And then Demonology has some bug fixes here. Fix an issue where Mana Forge will make a 2-set bonus where Soul Swipe was benefiting twice from Mastery. We knew that was a thing, so Demo probably took a bit of a hit there for Soul Harvester stuff. For its tier set was pretty good. We'll see where it lands when it's not bugged. And then this was, I don't know, I didn't know this was a thing. So I'm not sure if this is true. I mean, I assume Blizz knows more than we do about it and stuff. So the Demonic Soul is whitelisted to benefit from Shadow Touched. So it might have been a case that we just assumed it was benefiting from it because it's whitelisted and maybe it was bugged and they fixed it. Or maybe it was just working in general and they thought it was bugged and it wasn't and it's all the same now. I don't know. We can't really test it out because the tier is bugged. We don't really know why. So this might be a relatively offsetting nerf and or change. Not really sure. Got to see where it goes, but it's likely still pretty good for Demonology. And yeah, there's that. A pretty big buffs to Aff and Deshra today through this. And then Demo, obviously, Diabolus is good for Demonology now. And, you know, Soul Harvester is likely pretty good too, but can't really tell because there is more to be seen. So, all right, for some very brief damage testing here, I'm going to try and go through most things pretty quickly because there's a lot of specs, a lot of things you want to see here. Probably have some videos coming out tomorrow and the next day, like some M+ runs and all that, looking at Demonology. I'll be doing Deshra Aff testing on stream as well, as long as the Soul Harvester bugs are fixed. But I want to look at some damage profiles for y'all and give you some examples of how it looks. We're going to start off playing Diabolus and single target. I am playing Havoc here over Fiendish Cruelty, just because I'm going to push this thing below 20%, and I don't want to have Shadowburn's cooldown resetting so often. Havoc is irrelevant here, just for testing. I know we have a bit of bonus from this. I can't really change much about it. But what we can do is start hitting the dummy. So let's go. Now, Now, as far as Diabolus is concerned, I'm going to pot this, I guess. Sure, why not? There's no like Malevolence casting here, so the opener is just pretty simple. Usually what it is, cast some bolts, get Eradication up, throw your Infernal, do whatever, Shadow Burn stuff, just throw bolts. The burst is not terrible. Your demons do a lot of damage. Like when my Overlord swung there, he just hit for literally enough to make my damage jump by 1,000,000 DPS. If you like Chaos Bolt is going to be pretty much your main source of damage as far as like Diabolus is concerned. It does hit pretty hard through Demonic Arts, all that stuff. Biggest bolt currently is 11 million, 11.7. Pretty solid overall. There's a Pit Lord, there's some Soulfires. I mean, it feels like Destro. It's pretty strong. It's pretty solid. Or I guess bowls are pretty strong. It feels like Destro, it feels pretty solid. Numerically, like tuning wise and all that, you gotta see where it goes, see where it all lands. Eye Blast is our tier set. It is our 2-piece that they buffed by 100% today. The max Eye Blast is 17.5 million. That's a pretty good bit. We did pot that. We did pop like Eras's Ritual Forge, have like big damage coming in here, but at the same time, you don't have like those minute damage windows like Hellcaller has, so we're going to put up some damage here. We're going to fall off a good bit, though, too. We were sitting at, like, 6.5 for a little while there with pots and CDs rolling. We're probably going to fall to, like, 5-ish, 5-1, give or take, before we get Infernal in about 40-ish seconds here. But it's not bad. I think it probably is a little bit stronger than Hellcaller now. Obviously, like, there's a bit of RNG to random procs here and there, but it does feel like... It feels like Destro. Now, as far as tier is concerned, Eye Blast is doing 12% right now. Obviously, that is a relatively high number, but it's important to keep in mind that, like, that's basically, and that's our 2 set. Our 4 set gives an intellect buff, which you can see right here, and up here it's going to expire whenever we fling some more eyeballs here. It'll pop up again. The int buff is 2% per stack, up to, you know, 6% in max stacks. We have Infernal. We're at 5 million DPS here. So there is, like, a bit of extra added value with our tier set, but the 2-piece is doing like 13%. It's relatively high for a 2-piece, but unlike Soul Harvester that has, you know, Soul Swipe doing like 8%, Soul Harvester also buffs other things through the 4 set, like Wicked Reaping, I think Soul Anathema, it buffs your baseline Demonic Soul too. This is just basically, hey, you're flinging the eyeballs as like all your damage from your tier set, and you're getting an int buff. So it's sort of like distributed in a different manner, if that makes sense. But it is relatively high at 15.7%. 5.3, 5.4 is what I've seen roughly. Important to keep in mind that we are shadow burning here and getting a higher crit chance on it because it is low on health. Can't really do a whole lot about that to change it, but you know, there's that. Let's hop out of combat here and try out Hellcaller real fast. I did pot that. Usually I don't pot things on dummies to skew things a bunch from people's like POVs and all that, but I just sort of fat fingered it and said whatever. So there's that. Now, as far as like damage profiles are concerned, we talked about it for a while. We've hit on it for a long time. Hellcaller, I mean, I don't think it's strong as Diabolus on single target now. If I can leave comment, that'd be sick. Hellcaller has that Wither profile. This dummy is going to be low on health. It's going to be in basically permanent Blackened Soul ticking down range. So, like, Blackened Soul is going to be a bit higher here in the overall breakdown than what it would be in, like, a normal patchwork setting until the boss gets lower on health. I can't really change that. It is what it is. But regardless, Blackened Soul still hits very hard for Hellcaller Destruction. Incinerate also hits pretty hard for Hellcaller Destruction. Let's reset this, waiting on our Infernal for 20. They also buff Ferocity and Cruelty today. So both those are going to be hitting, I guess, amplifying things more, however you want to look at it. We're playing Havoc here over this, once again, just to not be cheesing Soul Burn too much, Shadow Burn too much. This is irrelevant, not doing anything here. And, you know, yeah, there's that. So let's get rid of these ruin stacks here. Opener is a little different because you want to hit Malevolence early. It gives 2 stacks of backdraft, so you want to basically go like Soulfire, Infernal, Malevolence, Eradication, and then launch a Chaos Bolt. Basud, I'm not even live, but you resubbed. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. That's crazy. Let's go. Thank you, dude. Soulfire, Infernal, Shadowburn, pop Malevolence, launch a Chaos Bolt, Soulfire, and then do whatever else you want here. This is your opener. Pop a Trinket too. That also doesn't hurt. But see what I blame you for that. I mean, the opener is like, it's higher burst initially, but like it's not as much sustain outside of like your Malevolence windows. Like you have demons spawning in ever so often as Diabolus, right? It would have been a little bit higher there if you pop a Trinket on pull. Not a huge deal. We didn't pot this like we potted the Diabolus one either, so it's important to keep that in mind. But, you know, a bit of RNG and Soulfire procs, all that. Bolts hitting for less than it does for Daedalus because no demonic art modifiers, whatever, but still for like 7 million, not terrible. Black and Soul doing a lot of damage here. Now, we are in basically permanent like Black and Soul range. Anytime Wither gets a stack, it's going to tick down here because of this thing being dead. When you pop your Malevolence and things, you get 8 stacks of Wither off the bat. You can chain that, like right now, like we have 0 stacks of Wither, pop Malevolence, we're at 9, and you can chain that for a while to generate more stacks. So even in like a normal setting, you're probably gonna be sitting at 20-ish, 25-ish stacks coming out of like a Malevolence window. So it'll be ticking down for a while regardless in those settings, but it's not gonna be permanent execute, permanent Black and Soul ticking down, right? But either way, decent bit of damage here, a bit less than what we saw for Daedalus, like we said, sitting at like 4.8 here. It'll probably fall off a bit more. I potted for Daedalus, but not the end of the world. We have Infernal in like 20-ish, so we'll go a bit longer here, sync that back up. But if you're in a setting where you want the Wither profile, fights where there's spread cleave, we saw it a lot on Bandit this tier, on Cauldron, a lot of fights this tier, Mugsy, right, you know, where that Wither profile is relevant, that Destro cleave profile is relevant. Next tier could be Forge Weaver Araz, could be Nosferatu. Soulbinder's obviously a pretty good fight for that as well. The Wither profile looking pretty good. So it's still a desired profile. But the question is the damage actually there? So we'll Infernal, Shadowburn, hit our Trinket, Malevolence, launch a bolt, Conflagrate, Shadowburn, launch some bolts here. Don't let Wither fall, Soulfire it up, and yeah. Not as good as Diabolus overall single target output, like not horrendous, not at a point where it's like, oh, this is, you know, it's better than it was, for sure. But a profile built much more around Wither and Black and Soul and stuff, comparatively to like Chaos Bolts and Demons doing damage. So there's a bit more separation there between the two hero talents, but honestly, that's fine if you look at it that way, right? It's very hard to tell where Destruction and Affliction are, like comparatively to other classes that have similar profiles, because we talked about at the start, a lot of classes, I mean, they nerf Shadow Priest a bunch, right? They nerf Shadow a bunch. Please leave combat. They nerf Shadow, or they nerf Shadow, they nerf Boomkin, they nerf Hunter, they nerf Frost DK today. They're still pretty good, unsurprisingly. And they nerfed Mage also, since raid testing ended. So comparatively to them, it's hard to say like where Destro and Aff really sit. But it's worth keeping in mind that if they test things again, well, definitely want to keep an eye on those two classes or specs, right? Now, as far as Aff's concerned, Soul Harvester's bugged. Hellcaller is the same. Soul Harvester is better in single target. Hellcaller is like fine, but we'll do a Soul Harvester single target opener here just to show how it's bugged. And yeah, so I'm not gonna pot this. I don't want to pot anything else here. We gotta wait on our trinket for half a minute, but I'm probably just gonna do like one Soul Harvester test here. I might do a fast Hellcaller one, but I don't want this video to be half an hour long. I want to try and squeeze in some demo stuff and maybe a little bit of demo and AoE. Yeah, so I guess the big thing here, we talked about it, the 2-piece for Soul Harvester is not really working. We think they removed, by mistake, the spell power modifier possibly from it. Not really sure. Hopefully it's fixed tomorrow, so we can test it out this weekend. Could be. We'll find out. So here we go. Haunt, UA, Agony, Corruption, 2 Shadow Bolts. I guess, you know, well, 1, whatever. It's fine. Singularity, Soul Rot, Dark Lair, Trinket, and we go. Now, he is in there thrashing around. You can see him right there. He does some damage. Like, Soul Swipe is somewhere in here. Should be somewhere. What is it called? It's like Soul Swipe, right? Oh gosh, it's even lower than before. That's way worse than what I've seen already. Yeah, so obviously that is not functioning. Soul Swipe is down here. Yeah, so he hit 12 times. His average hit was like 134k. Yeah, they probably removed the spell power modifier by mistake, which I guess happens, is what it is. But yeah, not a whole lot you can really do there. All right, Hellcaller, we're gonna go fast here. I am playing this build, same thing pretty much. UA, Xavier's Gambit, Overdark Harvest, all that stuff. Hellcaller, when you pop Malevolence, gives you 2 stacks of Crescendo, which is 2 instant cast Raptures. They've increased the stack count to 3 for a max now, which is very cool. Yeah, here we go. So Haunt, UA, Agony, Wither. It is not permanent as Hellcaller. I am playing Shadow Bolt here still too. And Singularity, Soul Rot, Pop this Dark Lair, hit Malevolence. There's 2 Raptures or TC stacks, and begin dumping these Raptures. I do think Soul Harvester is better in single target still than Hellcaller, but similar to Destruction, like Diabolus versus Hellcaller, Hellcaller has that like spread Wither profile, right? If you want Wither's damage, if you want Wither's profile, Affliction's pretty good at building upon that, amplifying it, and just giving you that raw, Wither value, right? They have buff like Black and Soul a bit for both of these. It's pretty high here. Once again, though, important to keep in mind, this dummy is an execute, so it's going to be just getting permanent. Anytime Wither gets stacks, it's going to like consume those stacks versus it having to be 8 stacks to trigger that, essentially. But when you pop your Malevolence, it does give you 8 stacks initially, and you can build upon that a lot when they're frozen. So, I mean, either way, Black and Soul's going to be pretty high here. Wither is pretty high as well. There were direct buffs to Wither. I do think that Soul Harvesters are still better in single target and all that, like we said. But let's spend some resources here. We got 1 stack, Malevolence. Now we got 3. Let's go. Rapture, Rapture, Rapture. The 3 stack count on TC actually feels really good, too. There was a time earlier where I naturally occurred 3 stacks of TC, almost like just back to back, basically. It was really nice having that bit of extra leeway there. You can see Wither here's at 20 stacks also from our tier set, giving those 8 stacks and freezing the stack count, or freezing the reduction, I guess, while allowing you to accrue more stacks to Raptures and all that. So it actually flows pretty well. This dummy is an execute, but we'd have like these stacks ticking down still regardless due to how the tier set works. So there you go. As far as damage output's concerned, though, not like incredibly high, not like Destro, a bit lower, I'd say overall, comparing Diabolus, Destro, and stuff. But breakdown-wise, I mean, it's up there, I guess. With our Black and Soul Rapture, it's AF, man. If you played AF, it's AF. If it's a fight where you want, once again, like that Wither-based damage profile, the Hellcaller-based profile, hey, this very well could be for you, right? But in its current form and all that, we need to see where Soul Harvester AF is at with the buffs and when the bug is fixed and everything. It's not going to be as strong as Demonology currently is in single target and all that. But alrighty, now for Demonology here, Soul Harvester, like we said, is bugged. We can't test it. We can, but it doesn't really do much. The tier set's broken. So we're going to look at Diabolus here. Diabolus does not have like as much upfront burst as Soul Harvester does for Demonology, but it has more sustained damage whenever you spawn in demons through rituals, all that kind of stuff. Demonology does appear to be our best overall single target spec right now. And yeah, let's get into it. So got a Siphon, cast some Shadow Bolts here, cast Grimoire, cast Big Purple Dog, sounds good. Fling that guy in as well. Cast some hands. Some bolts here. Want 10 imps on our tyrant. It's already an imp mother proc, but I mean, whatever. Normal cycling. Strength it up. And yeah, just go from there. So we have 3 eyeballs active now. We just flung them all in. You can see there's some damage there from Eye Blast. We have the intellect buff on us now as well. And we're just churning out damage. Normal demo stuff. You can see how it begins to ramp damage more over the course of like Tyrant's duration, but also when you get more pets flowing in, Pit Lord spawning in, Ruination's being cast. The damage output's pretty good. Infernal Bolt can hit really hard from Big Mommy. I've seen 15 million hits. The eyeballs obviously can hit pretty hard. They are, a large portion of our damage. Almost a 10 million hit there. Almost a 10 million normal hit. 9999448. Close enough. If that would have crit, it would have been a 20 million Eye Blast, which is pretty wild. And like we said, Demonology can just sustain a lot of damage, right? You have these demons spawning in every so often. Big Mommy, Mother of Chaos, the Fell Lord, and the Pit Lord as well. It's good at just putting out consistent damage, right? So we'll Tyrant again here. Build some imps. We got a Ruination. This will carry us to 10 imps. Super easy. Bang, bang, bang. Tyrant. And we're going once again. Eye Blast is relatively high here as far as like damage output is concerned, but at the same time, that is like the entire extent of what your 2-piece puts, or 2 and 4-piece put out, essentially raw damage wise. The 4-piece does buff your intellect per eyeballs flung, so there's that, but you can't really extrapolate out how much a 2, 4, or 6% intellect buff does like the damage on these spells, right? So what you're seeing here with Eye Blast being 10%, that's basically all the damage your 2-piece is doing. Comparatively to Affliction that has like between the 2-piece and 4-piece, it has Soul Swipe on the 2-piece, but also has like passive buffs to I think Soul Anathema and Wicked Reaping and like the Demonic Soul that modify other abilities too. This is the entire 2-piece. 11%. It's still pretty strong for what a 2-piece is, but like, I mean, we'll see where it goes. See where it lands, right? So, speaking of landing, Tyraniting here, sent him out for a big old damage amp again, sustaining 5.3 million here. So you can see it's like, it's putting out good damage. It's a bit higher than what Destro and Aff are doing. We're Tyraniting here as well, but it's consistent, right? You're not like having these big peaks and valleys like you are with Diabolus Destro or Affliction with Hellcaller stuff, or even Soul Harvester. It's consistent damage, you know. And if you have like stat cleave settings, I mean, most of your abilities for Demonology just cleave passively. Dogs, Hand of Gul'dan, Demonic Strength, Fellstorm, Implosion if you want. Your eyeballs can cleave, right? And if we head over here on the fly, just swap to some AoE stuff, playing the same build. Holy moly, we're cleaving now. Fling some eyeballs and reset the meter here, and you'll see like eyeballs just climb a bunch. Right, let's see if we can reset this really fast here. Yep, there's an eye blast. Swap to some AoE, some cleave. Ruination's cleaving passively. Purple, we're playing purple dog. Maybe with some prio damage. Who knows? Bring out old big perp here, big purple dog, and you're cleaving. You know, we had a big eye blast queued up, so don't get too excited about this. But I mean, you can put out just a lot of single target. Right? This is actually bugged. It's not showing all my damage. I don't know why, but damage, current segment. There we go. That's what it looks like. We changed it up. There we go. So Eyeblast is putting out a lot here on the AoE, right? But you still have that good, like, consistent prio damage profile or a single target profile, whatever you want. You can spread dooms here, you know. So like the spec is built in a pretty healthy manner for those stat cleave encounters, those stat cleave fights, right? So we'll see where it goes. Obviously, Eyeblast is hitting pretty hard. We'll see where maybe they want to tune it down a little bit. Not really sure, but even if they do, like, it's still Demo looks pretty good, and we will see where Soul Harvester goes for Affliction and the other version of Demo here whenever the bug is fixed. But this video is running a bit long. I'm gonna call it here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. Like always, it helps out a ton. We're pushing for 100k subs on the channel this year. If we can hit it, if we can't, it's okay too. I love y'all all the same. JG, GN, much love. Goodbye. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.